Can we wave our arms? Ooh, ooh, ah, ah, ah.
Amy Cutter remembers the difficult process of finding childcare very well.
Myself and my husband looked for a center for a while, a home center, and there are definitely different standards of care at different places you go.
Cutter ended up opening her own licensed childcare program out of her Bristol home last year.
The biggest thing is just making sure your home is safe.
State law requires home providers to be licensed if they're watching kids unrelated to them outside the child's home. Licensing requires a periodic payment, a home safety checklist, and an in-home visit from a state inspector. But a large amount of Connecticut providers are running unlicensed childcare operations out of their homes. The number of complaints filed with the state about illegal childcare jumped 25% from 2010 to 2011. The complaints led to 54 citations, shutting down home daycares in Hartford, New Britain, and Waterbury, among others.
A good infant-toddler slot is like $275 a week. That's more than a lot of people make in a week.
State Senator Beau is aware of the problem.
Very quickly, it gets out of hand. So then what happens is an underground market develops that's affordable, but that doesn't have the safety that licensed care has.
There is financial aid for low-income families seeking childcare, but Sid Oppenheimer, a senior policy fellow at CT Voices for Children in New Haven, says funding has declined.
After the 2002 recession, it went down dramatically. It gradually came back, and then with the most recent recession, dipped and has come back again, but again, it's still far below where it used to be even a decade ago.
And you can't even qualify if you're unemployed or in college, leaving thousands of the most needy ineligible for assistance.
I definitely think that some people would argue that the Care for Kid eligibility requirements are too strict.
But why don't providers just get licensed?
I did it in Wallingford for about 3-4 years.
We visited the home of Sharon Cruz, who, according to the state's regulatory action report, was ordered to stop providing childcare at her Meriden home in 2010.
The state came out, talked to me, and I had to cease daycare that day. So I did.
She now has a state license and actually wants the state to crack down even more.
I actually think that they should be checking up a little bit more than they do. Personally.
Why more?
I've heard stories in home daycares.
When childcare providers are given a consent order, they have two options: either shut down immediately or get a state license. When this Hartford provider was cited in 2010, they decided to get a license, but not every provider does the same. We responded to dozens of childcare ads on Craigslist, emailing the providers, asking them if they were licensed with the state. Some offered excuses. Others simply said, "No, I'm not licensed." One provider in Cromwell said she didn't have a license and didn't plan to get one. And while this activity appears prevalent, State Senator Beau is optimistic about a bill passed in the last session that created a coordinated early childhood system.
Ultimately get as many kids as we can in the highest quality care possible by putting those 6 or 7 agencies working in childcare into one coordinated entity.
Show me how you turn your head.
Amy Cutter remains concerned for the thousands of kids in unlicensed homes.
You may have an environment that's unhealthy. You may have an environment that has illegal activity going on inside of it, that the kids are just not cared for, that the kids are mistreated. If you're going to look for a provider, make sure it's a licensed provider that has all of the certifications required.
Beau Berman, Fox, Connecticut.